we are wrapping up 2025, and we
Thank
just
goodness.
I know, right? This year went by
I
so
say that. I
fast.
say that. That sounded so bad. No, thank goodness is in like I think I when I say thank goodness, I was talking about like wrapping up the heavy tax planning
Right,
season, not
right.
like the year. I mean, it's been a great year for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. It's been a great year. Some ups and downs, like any year, right? Every year gives you some curveballs that you didn't expect, but that's just life, right? But yeah, thank goodness we're getting through this tax planning season, heavy tax planning season for us, and wrapping up our year end reviews. And as I was going through, looking at our notes from our meetings, I started to think about, the different conversations I've had with our clients that are at different net worths. And what I realized is that as we're starting to plan, especially for those that are distributors, those that are getting close to retirement or in retirement, as they're looking at ways to get income from their assets, and then those that are accumulators, those that are still savings, those that are still grinding, trying to get to that retirement point. I realized that the strategies that those that are accumulating and those that are distributing are completely different.
Hmm.
And the mindset that they have are completely different. And then I started to take a deeper look into those that have this ultra net worth. The way they look and think about money is completely different.
Hmm.
And it's not that they're different types of people. It's not like they're what they believe in and what they actually uh, strive for is different. It's just the way that they view money and they view their wealth is different because what they've realized, again, just going through these conversations, is that what took them or what they had to do to get them to that point is not what they're doing to stay there.
Hmm.
Or they're taking a completely different approach to their wealth now that they've amassed this amount of money and this amount of wealth.
Yeah.
And so I thought it'd be a good conversation for us to talk today about, you know, what are things that our high net worth clients are thinking about
Yeah, for sure.
as they've reached a certain point that they've all described to themselves that I've made it.
Hmm.
Now that I've made it, and whatever that quote unquote made it is, what do I need to do to stay there?
Yeah, and I think to your point, it's a good conversation no matter where you are as a listener or a viewer of the show. Um, these are good, just like fundamentals, and what we're talking about is like the good of the high net worth, right?
Right.
Because as you well know, we working with a wide range of individuals. You have some people that have built literally from the ground up where they are today, and they would be classified as high net worth individuals. And you see their fundamentals and what they do, their thought process and their disciplines. And then you have some people too that have inherited money and handled it well. You have people that have inherited money and didn't handle it well. And so I think, to your point, the conversation, it's a good one to have. It's just like the mindset of the high net worth individual that actually treats money the way it should be treated and handles it correctly because these types of disciplines can be carried all the way through, whether you are someone who may be close to retirement with a million or so of assets, or you're someone who is, already, achieved a goal of maybe creating 5, 7, 8 million dollars worth of liquidity, right? No matter where you are, these are good fundamental thoughts to have about your money. And you're right, it is. There's definitely some consistency with those. I'm thinking of just like a few clients off the top, and the way they think about their money and the way they think about their plan and their year, there's some similarities there. I think like to your point when you were making a statement about getting there, what they did to get to where they are. Well, in fact, it should look different, and for the ones that do it well, it is different compared to like climbing a mountain, right? When you're climbing, you're using a whole different type of gear to get to where you're trying to go. But when you get to the top, you may want to swap that gear out because your focus is like, I need to be more cautious about falling than I probably do,
About
trying to get. Of course, clearly, if you're a climber and watching this, you're like, he didn't know what he's talking about. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, if I'm here, gonna fall 100 foot, but if I'm like 800 foot, 1,000 foot, I want to make
Yeah.
sure my gear is gonna keep me from falling.
Yeah, I mean, you had a recent experience about propelling down or
Oh
rappelling
my
down when you
gosh.
put your Christmas lights up.
Yeah.
But you probably had a different mindset when you were starting to put the lights
Yeah.
on versus okay, now the lights are on. How do I get down from here?
I feel like there's a standard of where your mindset should be to start with. So my initial ascent to the roof, my initial mindset was below the standard, like way below. Like me and my youngest son, I took his advice. Let's go to Ace Hardware or Tractor Supply and put together like some carabiners and just hope it works out well. Tie it through some belt loops, and yeah, that was. I'm like, gosh, if anybody knew this, this is crazy.
You should
But
have
yeah,
recorded that. But yeah, the when you get to a certain point, it's not about how to get rich or how to get wealthy because you're there.
Mhm.
It's in some aspects, we call it the stewards principle. It's about how not to lose it in some aspects.
Mhm.
And so I'd say the first thing I noticed is that wealthy individuals who really take this seriously have a ace up their sleeve. And that ace up their sleeve is understanding the value of having cash.
Mhm.
And so that's a number one habit of the wealthy who really embody the steward principle is really having a great understanding of what the power of having liquidity does for their wealth.
Yeah.
And you may listen to different, podcast hosts, financial coaches, financial advisors on whatever video platform there is, and they're talking about, you have to invest in this stock, you've got to invest in this REIT, you've got to invest in this business, and sometimes they push cash to the side and think cash is the worst thing in the world. But then, quite honestly, when you get to a certain point, having cash isn't a defensive approach. It actually is a forward-thinking approach because when there are opportunities that are in front of you, whether it is a slide in the market, whether it's property that needs to be a distressed property that needs to be bought, or whatever it may be, having the cash available is huge, and not having it tied up in assets that you can't have liquidity on.
Yeah.
So again, the first principle I'd say is they understand having cash is an ace up their sleeve, right?
Mhm.
Knowing the opportunities that cash can present
And
itself.
I think too, it's like that when they have this cash position, they have the liquidity, and they're prepared, right? When they're prepared to execute on an investment, then a lot of times these types of clients, they're also much more methodical. I'm going to use like a biblical word here when it comes to investing: hasty. They're not hasty, if that's the right word, meaning that they're not they don't get caught into the knee jerk reaction of the next big deal, the next stock that you should buy, the next cryptocurrency that you should consider, the next whatever. Um, by default, they know that the way that they built their wealth is through the fundamentals and the disciplines of investing. And I'm not saying that you can't get lucky and maybe throw some money at a particular stock or something that you get a quick win with. But the reality is that's not the fundamentals of investing. It's not the right way of creating wealth. And so just as much as you may create wealth that way, you very well could lose it that way if that's your mindset. And so people that have liquidity, and this goes one of the fundamentals of a higher net worth investor, but this is something that everybody should really consider. As a younger investor, liquidity is a source of protection, right? It's a way of protecting the back end to ensure that if you go moments without cash flow, you can keep your family afloat and your household afloat and your business afloat like it's necessary. But when you create greater wealth, and you begin to realize that a lot of the money that you have may not be money that you'll ever need from an actual cash flow standpoint, and you're at this like true financial freedom standpoint, okay, then the liquidity becomes a tool where you're in the driver's seat. The next deal pops up, you're not really shaken by it. You know, you really have the time to do the analysis. If you want to do it, you can pull the trigger because the money's there. And you've really been able to really understand this opportunity loss like zone, if you will. So like, you're like, hey, I'm okay having 5%, 8%, 10% in a liquidity position because my greed hasn't got to a place where I feel like I have to get every single opportunity and return in the market on everything. Well, no, I got 80, 90% of my money still fully invested. This right here is my, my work money. It's going to go out there and work for me with these investments. So I think the liquidity principle is by far a common thing that you see with these high net worth investors for sure.
Yeah, I like how you say that. It's not about, the cash position is about making sure that, hey, if something happens, a disruption in work or unfortunate health incident, I need this cash as a buffer. No, they have the buffer already. Right. The buffer is already there. This cash is literally there for them to make smart decisions when opportunity arises. An opportunity arises, I'd say, all the time. Every year there's an opportunity that comes about.
For sure.
I mean, even think if you look back at this year, right? We saw a drop in the market, March, half of March, a little bit of April.
Drop, really.
And say that again?
Yeah, significant
drop in the market, right? And those that are, that have cash on hand that aren't at that level, sometimes they get a little apprehensive, maybe a little fearful. I have to maybe reallocate. I do things hastily, like you mentioned before. But when you have that dry powder on the side, it's like, wait a minute, here's an opportunity. These are great quality companies that just so happen to be down 10, 15, 20%. I'm gonna throw some money at this because I can see the opportunity that once these great quality companies in the market just gets back to what it normally does, then I've bought a great I've bought a great investment. Or housing market, right? If there's unfortunately foreclosures are starting to go up, right? We're starting to see record foreclosures going back up, and so here's an opportunity for me to get into real estate if I've never done it before. So again, having this cash on hand isn't a protection against work stoppage, health scare, cash flow being subsided. No, this is cash that I can literally deploy and, like you said, work for me.
Yeah. Well, so what's your thoughts on the amount? I mean, you take someone who's in a position where they have, whether they're working or they're not working, they have money that they don't need. Okay, invested. How much of that invested money should they, as a percentage, keep dry powder on the sideline, ready to execute at will?
I'd say if you get to that high net worth level, 10%. I think 5 to 10% is a good number to have, and that's just money that's ready to be deployed. Yeah, I'd say 10% could be a good high mark number.
Yeah, for
what
sure.
do you think?
Well, I think you're right. I think that's probably a good general framework for the bulk of the majority. I think it depends too, just the type of investor. We work with so many clients, so it's hard to put a number specifically on it, right? If you're an individual that has been able to collect and accomplish the levels that we're talking about, and you can put this much money on the sideline. The truth is, if you're not someone who's really you're not into real estate, you're not ever going to probably buy some type of commercial property or complex or vacation properties or whatever it may be. Then maybe what you need is not so much if you're just playing opportunity in the markets, right? Or playing generosity, generous moves, right? You want to just have the ability to gift at will and stuff like that. So I think it just depends on the investor too.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, because if you're like you said, if you've made your wealth by real estate, by buying real estate properties, or being a landlord one way, shape, or another, then you might need to have $100,000, $200,000 down to just buy a house outright. But if you're just looking to be generous, like you said, or if you're looking to play the stock market, then you may not need that amount of money to as an entry point. You may just need $50,000, right?
Well,
and so that may bring that percentage down.
Yeah. So I do. I think it's necessary, and that's the whole point about having a plan. But liquidity, to sum up, step number one, rule number one, to these habits, it's necessary. Liquidity creates opportunity or freedom where you can execute on opportunity.
Okay. So I'd say number one, like you said, number one is liquidity. Number two is the silent partner that's in everyone's deal, and that is the IRS.
We're not talking about your ex-brother-in-law, whatever, family member. We're not talking about none of that.
No. We're talking
although
about...
those can be bad too. I've heard those stories.
I've heard those
they're
stories.
Like, oh, we have a third party. I'm like, I've never met them. Where are they? And they're like, oh, well, we don't let them be involved in the business no more. I'm like, that's a sweet deal for them.
Yeah, they just collect the dividend checks.
Silent partner.
No, this is a silent partner that's also a family member. It's your uncle, your Uncle Sam, right? That's in every conversation, every deal. And the high net worth individual always understands that there is a silent partner that they cannot not factor in and not think about, and that is taxes.
Yeah.
And I think what the ultra net worth, high net worth individual realizes is that when they're looking at their investments or they're looking at their business deals or they're looking at their income, they understand that it is not about that gross number up top, right? It is about that net number. What are they actually returning? What's their actually after-tax return? What's their after-tax income? What's their after-tax, profit? And they totally understand. They don't mistake the fact that you have to factor in how to make these decisions in the most tax efficient way. Even as you may hear the bucket strategy, right? Have money that's tax deferred, tax free, and taxable. Well, they understand that. They understand the power of taxes and what taxes can do to, basically how taxes can erode their wealth over time. And so they they try not to make the mistake of forgetting Uncle Sam in the deals that they make.
Yeah, I wanna bring up a question that I feel these type of clients ask. I actually talked about this in a video that I did last week, just an educational video, and one of the questions that one of the questions that that I was thinking of was, I feel like when you cross over from, maybe it's accumulator to distributor, or maybe it's like just this whole concept of like getting to financial freedom. But whenever you cross over this threshold of basically being content with where you are financially and feeling comfortable about your future financially and having the freedom, the question oftentimes changes when you're looking out to a year. And the point I was making is, like, when you look out to 2026, a lot of times the way a higher net worth individual articulates their desire for the upcoming year is about what they don't want to have happen. So instead of saying, hey, this is where I want to be, they oftentimes say, this is what I don't want to have happen. I don't want to write a big check to the IRS.
Good point.
I'm not willing to lose X amount of money because of an investment. I'm not willing to, so they almost can more clearly be, and I think it's just a psychological thing. Like, maybe they're okay, like where they are financially and looking at the money in the bank, it is what it is. So they've been able to articulate the pinpoints or the pain points that they don't want to experience. And one of these is the one we're talking about, which number 2, which is taxes. You're right. This is like a true win for people that have created wealth. And I say created wealth. It's a lesson learned for those that maybe have inherited it and they've never had to fight. Look, this is a game I freaking love to battle with. All right, I do. This is like my jam right here. When it comes to fighting the IRS, and I say fight, I'm talking about ensuring that our clients' businesses, our clients' families, our clients' children and generations keep more of what they have earned. Then by default being okay giving away 30 to 40% to the silent partner. I'm not interested in it.
Yeah, and that's why, here at Asset Management Group, we focus heavily on taxes, and we have sometimes been maybe called argumentative when it comes to tax planning and the way we view taxes with relation to the way a CPA may look at taxes.
Right.
Because, in our experience, we've noticed that certain CPAs, not all, I'm sure there's some really good ones out there, but certain CPAs look at taxes as, well, let's make sure that you're paying the least amount of taxes today, right? We're not focused on 2026, 27, 2030, 2040, the next generation. We just want to be able to help you save taxes today, which is great, right?
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
This burns me up, and I'm about to put it out.
See, I told you.
Okay,
yeah.
This burns me up. So here's the deal. You go back, okay? This just happened to me yesterday, okay?
I think I heard you on the phone.
Yeah. And, all right, this is to my point, and I am by no means degrading all CPAs by any stretch. We got some great partners that we use, that we trust, that do a heck of a job for our clients. But what I don't like is the CPA that gets to the tax season that then has the ability or has the freedom, they think, to tell a client that what we have done as a strategy is the wrong thing. And then the following year, you're like, okay, well, we'll take time to discuss it with you during the right time of the year. And they're nowhere to be found. Like off. Won't be back till, we can schedule a meeting in like late January. I'm like, do y'all even know how a tax year works? Like, it kind of ends. I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, well, yeah, they can't take the call. I'm like, unbelievable. Well, then keep your mouth shut when it comes. Not to mention, I mean, clearly we did what's right because we did what's right.
Right.
And I was just looking for the opportunity to help educate them on what was right about the tax strategy plan.
Yeah.
But anyway, we move forward.
Yeah.
So,
No, I mean,
I'm like, how can you do that? How can you be so bold to critique what we did without knowing exactly the reasons why we did what we did?
Right.
And then the following year, when we try to team up so that you do understand, so we all are on the same page, you've disappeared.
Yeah.
And so you'll be back. It's just the reality that a lot of times, and once again, I say this very lightly because I have some incredible relationships with individuals that once again, they've built a company to fight back against this like norm within the industry, which is I'll meet with my clients during the rush of the year, which is January, February, March, April, carry some business returns on throughout the extension, and all our focus is going to be on what we should have done because it's too late.
Because it's too late,
right?
yeah.
So let's just minimize things out and let's keep rocking to the next year. That's their business model, and I get it. It's all volume based, get people in, get people out. Not a whole lot of planning. For us, it's planning, and which is why it's necessary to make sure that you have a strategy in place. High net worth people that actually think about their money correctly for next year, they're thinking about this right now.
Yeah.
Businesses right now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they are. I mean, they are very proactive in tax planning. I had a conversation. We did an episode a few weeks ago about the client that had an $86,000 gain, and her CPA. I remember we had a conversation with her CPA because the reason why I was having this meeting with the client was to do a Roth conversion. And her CPA, and the reason why we couldn't do the Roth conversion is because she had an $86,000 capital gain this year that we weren't aware of. She wasn't aware of. CPA wasn't aware of. And the CPA made this bold statement of, well, I'll never do a Roth conversion. Never. Made that bold claim and said, well, we don't know if tax rates are going up in the future. So, like, I'd rather just play that game and worry about it later. That was literally her conversation.
Yeah. Like literally the as if the only reason you would do a conversion is because tax rates are going up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So wealthy people don't think like that. Right? They, like you said, they are thinking about taxes. I wouldn't say constantly on a daily basis, but I will say their taxes are in the forefront of their minds when it comes to their wealth.
So I think real quick, I want to throw in our industry here just for a second because the reality is our industry does a terrible job too. There's so many clients that we get that come to work with our firm that have worked with other firms, and they just make the transition, not because performance is like significantly better or the investment strategies are like so much better. No, it's because they ask the questions about a variety of different things that impact their financial life and health, okay? So everything from, insurance to estate planning to taxes to income strategies. Like they're just asking real life important questions and they're not getting the answers. Or they get something like the example with the CPA. I wouldn't do it. I don't recommend it. Well, how does that leave somebody educated in a way that's going to help them actually make a decision about their money?
Yeah.
So our industry does a bad job, and oftentimes, other related industries can. So I think the point of this, because I know we kind of got off on a tangent there, when it comes to making sure like you have the right person to be able to address some of these thought processes that we're talking about, these high net worth people have, feel comfortable to ask the question, push and pry, and with the relationships you have. If you don't get the time, meaning that you don't feel like they're investing the time to be able to give you a true, well-thought-out response, quit paying them.
Yeah.
Leave.
Yeah.
There are people out there, there are firms out there, and we're not the only one, but there's a lot of great firms out there that will take the time to invest into you to ensure that you understand why you need to do something that you should do.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Okay. So we've got dry powder, understanding where how cash can be leveraged, not forgetting or neglecting the silent partner, which is your IRS. I say the third thing that high net worth individuals understand who are looking to be good stewards of their assets is understanding, and they're understanding that protection plays a valuable role
Yeah.
in making sure that they stay where they are. Right. Again, and when I say protection, it means just making sure that you have a moat, that you have some type of defense shield around your assets. And so, what I really want to talk about is different layers of protection that those that aren't high net worth individuals may not see the value behind it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, something as simple as like an umbrella insurance policy, right? So, why an umbrella insurance policy? Well, just think about it. If you are worth $5 million, right, and you have your homeowner's insurance, car insurance, whatever it may be, and you're driving down the road and you get into a car accident, right? Your auto insurance has what $100,000 coverage for everyone in the vehicle. But then, we live in a very litigious world.
Yeah.
And someone goes in and Googles Andrew Nida. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute. Partner of Asset Management Group, owner, president of Asset Management Group, has a net worth of $6 million. Oh, I'm going to sue this sucker.
Mm-hmm.
And then your insurance policy only pays $100,000. Now, guess what they're coming after?
Right.
They're coming after your assets.
Right.
So, again.
Well, not even that. They don't even have to have the thought. The industry in that sense is somewhat built to force them to have that thought.
Oh yeah.
Like that's neither here nor there, but it is like that. You're right. That's a real fear. I remember, this brings up like such a great memory. I remember when I was being educated by my dad, kind of like tiptoeing in the industry a little bit. I'm talking, I was not even a licensed financial advisor. I remember him giving me an example on like his whiteboard, right? I'm sitting in his office in his conference room. He's drawing out a scenario. Okay, I must have been probably like 20, all right, 21. And matter of fact, he might have been selling me term insurance. I don't know.
The back end was, you need to buy term insurance.
My dad was selling me term insurance, yeah. And I remember Chuck, Chuck Nida. So I remember he was literally drew a house and then drew like this circle, right, around it. And I'm like, we got a river? Like, what do we? And he was like, this is the moat.
Ah, yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you got your castle, you got your moat. And see, when they shoot arrows, I'm like, where are we going? I remember, man. Oh my gosh, this is good memories. I'm like, but I've never forgot about that.
Yeah.
And I actually have. I don't know if I've ever drawn it out. I should probably do that in a meeting just for old time's sake.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, man, because there was no real like as to where we were headed in the conversation, and I'm like, I am so confused. We ended up with life insurance, term insurance. I'm like, how we get? I thought we were going to battle. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, we got to build a bridge. We got all kinds of stuff to do.
Yeah. Chuck and I come from the old school, insurance world. So yeah, we've talked about, in my young pup years of insurance sales, drawing that castle, drawing a moat. But if you think about what a moat is, when you're, back then when you're fighting and your enemies were coming, and if you had your castle, well, what the moat did was it literally had a barrier around the, your castle to your enemies. Yeah. And so that gave you protection against, catastrophic loss. And so, so having a moat around your assets is something that high net worth individuals think about. It's just how to protect my assets. And this isn't an insurance conversation. I mean, there's different types of ways you can protect your assets, life insurance, blah, 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 for your business, buy, sell insurance. But this is talking about a different type of defensive shields, right? So again, umbrella insurance is something that most people may not think about, but it is a way to make sure that your assets aren't in jeopardy in the event of you getting sued or some aspect of that.
I throw another one out there, entity structure. For people that own multiple real estate properties, they own maybe some businesses. Just reorganizing and ensuring that the structure of the corporations that you have, the corporate structure is correct, to protect you. Now this is an important conversation. I think one of the simple questions that you have to ask is, who are my enemies, to be able to understand what the
Oh, wow.
how the moat needs to be
Good
built.
point.
Yeah, so like, and I think for a good like portion of the population, we probably have some similar concerns, right? Obviously, early loss while we're in our earning years, right, to protect our family. That's obviously a risk of a uncertain death or a premature death. I think one that gets overlooked a lot is disability.
Oh, for sure.
What happens if something happens where I'm not gone, but I'm not able to work, and you really, I think, remember, insurance is a game that you're playing to build a moat while the enemies exist. Okay, sometimes these enemies are not there forever. Okay, which is probably why I would be so bold to stand up and say that I have a strong defense against why people should not be buying permanent whole life insurance. Okay. And poor dad, he would probably be like, "But why?" Okay,
Did you forget about that
did you?
moat?
Yeah. So, but this is why I would say, and I would, say that I do have a strong defense, I feel, as to why I would not recommend someone buying permanent life insurance. I think there's very far and few scenarios, more estate planning techniques as to why it should be used. Outside of that, I would disagree with the concept that the average individual needs whole life insurance, and it's because if you're creating wealth, the need for life insurance, the enemy of a premature death, before you're at a place where you can afford and comfort the lifestyle and the generations to come, it's not there forever. If yes, when you're 20 years old, you're starting out with a family, you're building a career, you got more debt than you ever have, right? Of course, you've got a season of life where you need to protect and ensure that your family's taken care of. I'm not saying that doesn't need to happen. That's an enemy. By the time you're 55, 60, 65 years old, everything you have is paid off. Your kids are moved on, well, Lord willing, and on their own. You've created the wealth you need to provide for the rest of your life and more. You have money you'll never spend. You don't need life insurance unless it's like some type of estate technique. So what is the enemy you have? How long will they be present? Disability insurance is an example. How long is that risk relevant to your plan, and how much of a moat and protection do you need to prevent that from happening? There's a lot of good analysis there that needs to be done for everybody.
Yeah. And the good thing about our industry is that we have the ability to quantify needs.
Right.
Right. So, like, I think that one thing that, advisors and clients of advisors should really start to ask their advisors is, quantify it. Like, can you quantify why I need whatever it is? And we have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And
Goes back to that question, like, explain it to me.
Explain it to me.
Help me understand it.
And one last thing really quick, because we'll move on, but it also is our other enemy are those that, right now we live in a very technological world, and you have to make sure that your security with respects to, like, your social security number, your credit, your passwords, your wealth can be stolen without you even knowing, just by someone with a bunch of ones and O's, ones and zeros, behind the scenes, cracking your password. So, definitely step up your defensive passwords, the dark web. I get emails all the time that your password is found in the dark web. So I have the security monitor on my emails. So again, I'm able to change my passwords, but I understand the fact that, there is an enemy out there that is trying to steal your wealth without you even knowing. Okay, so the fourth thing I'd say that high net worth individuals understand is, and understanding what got them there is not what they need to do, is understanding that once you build a certain amount of assets, you might need to have a team.
Yeah.
And so they have a team versus a solo approach. Now, throughout this conversation, we've talked about different members of your team: the financial advisor, the good CPA who understands planning. You mentioned estate planning, right? They have an estate planning attorney, or understand that the need for estate planning. If they're a business owner, they may have a business attorney. They understand that at some point, you may be able to DIY yourself to a certain level, but then at a certain point, it's like, what you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know,
right?
And so you hire a team to make sure that your assets are are working in the right direction.
Yeah, this is. With humble gratitude, I have to give a lot of thanks just to our company and the people that work for our company, because I'm reminded, like literally yesterday, I had a meeting with a client of mine who just completed his transition to Spain,
Okay.
and it was pretty fun. He's sitting on the balcony, him and his wife. We're doing a virtual meeting, and he's looking over the is it the Mediterranean?
Sounds about right.
Oh
I'm
gosh.
geographically challenged.
I'm thinking of Jake's test right now. Yeah. So, okay, let's go with Mediterranean. If I'm wrong, guys, sorry. Uh, Literally, he was looking at it. I'm like, oh, this is sick.
Yeah.
Okay, it's beautiful. And anyway, for him to get to that place, okay, the value that AMG is able to bring by not just being an investment firm, and this is what is so impactful, because of our assistance within the tax world, because of our assistance in healthcare, because of the services we provide in estate planning. Being that it doesn't have to be a one size fits all for everybody. It's not like every client takes advantage of all the services we offer, but in these types of situations, they're able to leave. We have the banking, we have the investments, we have the planning and the investment strategy, we have the tax work, right? So literally, he's in a foreign country, living his life, and knows that even from where his stuff is mailed to, like it is a turnkey solution.
That's awesome.
And so, and with a team that's really like, and he just sat there and he just bragged about one of our staff members, and I'm like, no, it's great to hear,
Yeah.
because we work hard for that, to ensure that someone like you can go and just be like, I feel comfortable leaving the country with everything here because of what you guys do for me. And yeah, so I think it's something to throw out there. Get a huge shout out to our team,
Yeah.
to creating that type of culture and environment.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, having a team approach just makes, I mean, there's so much value knowing that you have a team working behind you that are coordinating with each other. We are, what we really take pride in is if you have other members of your team, we want to know who they are. Right.
Yeah.
We want to be able to talk to your CPA. We want to be able to talk to your estate planning attorney. And, we're not, we want to, because we're the ones who are creating the plan at the end of the day, right? They have a slice of the plan, right? But we're looking at the overall plan. So we want to be able to, almost like a general manager of your team, of a football team, right? We want to be able to work with the different players and to come back to you, the owner, the client, and say your team is running well. We're on the way to a championship. We're on the way to Spain, and you can live comfortably in Spain because your point guard is taking care of everything. So high net worth individuals understand the value of having a team approach to their assets.
Yeah, it frees them up. I think too, they put a lot of value into their time and the life they get to live, and so for sure, some people that create that type of wealth, they're smart people. And I'm sure in the back of their mind, they're like, I could probably do a lot of this if I wanted to. But the reality is the way that I created wealth is I learned how to be dependent on strong people. I built a team around me. That's how I got to where I am. And so to stay where I am, I'm going to build that team around me.
Mm-hmm.
Same concept.
Same concept.
Yeah.
All right. So the last is legacy. Okay, we've talked about this. You mentioned earlier that at a certain point we have enough assets that we're not worried about outliving it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What high net worth individuals are thinking about is how do I transition this asset to the next generation? And I think what high net worth individuals think about is they're not looking to prepare the money for their kids. They're thinking about how do I prepare my kids for this money?
Yeah.
And they're thinking about their legacy completely differently.
All right, I want you to pause. Can you say that one more time? I don't want that to be missed because I don't think I've ever heard that statement said that way. The point you're making.
So high net worth individuals are not worried about making sure that their money is ready for their kids. They're worried about whether their kids are ready for the money.
Okay. So this is something that's like it's a gut punch when it comes to I think our industry if we're honest with ourselves, okay? Because you and I both have sat in these we serve on a variety of different boards for a variety of different investment companies or custodians, and there's always a common theme or a common conversation about the transfer of wealth, okay? But the conversation tends to be from the angle of how do we keep the money, okay, under management, and I believe it's the idea of keeping the money under the management is not a problem. It's just the way in which the conversation goes about how to do that. And really, I think you're hitting on the actual key itself. And it's a problem I think that's built into our educational system here as a country, is that we're not technically preparing our children. And I'm going to try not to go off on a tangent, but I think there's a lot of areas of life that we fail, and I'm throwing myself into this, to prepare our children for life itself, and in this situation, preparing our children for money. It's I think we focus on the money. We do. Even as investment advisors, we focus on how to improve the money for the next generation. We hadn't even talked to the next generation. Right? We don't even know what their lifestyle is. What are they doing? Do they even know what they may be receiving? And do they even know how to handle that? Are they handling what they have already correctly today? Great. I think that's a tremendous point.
Yeah, it's they have conversations with their kids, right? They're preparing their kids. So it's not just about here's what you may inherit. It's here's why I set up this account. This is why real estate is in different LLCs. This is why I have a team approach. This is why I did this. This is why I worry about taxes, right? They were really having these conversations so the kids can be prepared for what they're going to invest in. So I think, as like you said, these principles that we talked about today isn't just for the ultra successful, isn't just for the rich, isn't just for the high net worth, right? And everyone at any asset level should be thinking about these things. It's just that, the ultra net worth, don't forget about this.
Yeah.
And I'd say if you haven't had this specific conversation with your kids, with your next generation, with your spouse, right? Even your spouse, have this conversation about why you made these decisions, not just the what, but the why. And so when that transition actually does happen, they are better prepared to be able to handle all the success that you've built.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just go to the wayside.
Yeah. And there's a sense of vulnerability and transparency that needs to happen there too. And it happens with it seems like it doesn't happen between this, like not every family, but a lot of times there's some more privacy between the, $2-3 million retiree and $5 million retiree versus like the, the 8, 10, 12, 15 plus. It's almost like everybody knows maybe that they're wealthy, so why not just be honest and transparent? But like over here where it's like my kids have no clue,
Yeah.
But I think the older you get, once you're more conscious and cognitive of the fact that you're probably not going to spend all this money, you've done a great job. It is important to be vulnerable, not maybe vulnerable is the wrong word, to be transparent open with your kids, to help them understand, to help teach them. It's vital, man. It is vital. Raising 3 boys of my own right now, I mean, there's already, things that obviously I regret, but you just try to embrace the time you have to teach because they need to know. The world they're growing up in, the start that they're getting is way different than what a lot of us and even the older generation got to experience. So, yeah, it's important. Good point.
Well, that's a wrap, right? Those are the 5 habits, 5 principles that high net worth individuals do not overlook. And so I thought it was a good conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
And, as we prepare for 2026, as we prepare for the beginning of a new year, a new chapter, we focused on it last week, beginning with the end in mind, right? So let's just leave everyone with that thought. As you prepare your financial plan for 2026, begin with the end in mind and start thinking about if you can adapt one of these principles for 2026, you could be amazed at the impact you will have, not just on yourself, but on your next generation. So with that,
until next time.
Until next time, that's a wrap.